This article is about the Sibylline Oracles. For the books, see Sibylline books. The Sibylline Oracles are a collection of oracular utterances written in Greek hexameters ascribed to the Sibyls, prophetesses who uttered divine revelations in a frenzied state. 14 books and 8 fragments of Sibylline Oracles survive. These are a collection of utterances that were composed or edited under various circumstances, probably between the 2nd and 6th centuries AD, and are not to be confused with the original Sibylline books of ancient Roman religion which are now lost. The Sibylline Oracles are a valuable source for information about classical mythology and early first millennium Gnostic, Jewish and Christian beliefs. Some apocalyptic passages scattered throughout seem to adumbrate themes of John's Book of Revelation and other apocalyptic literature. The oracles have undergone extensive editing, rewriting, and redaction as they came to be exploited in wider circles. One passage has an acrostic, spelling out a Christian code phrase with the first letters of successive lines. Introduction. The Sibylline Oracles in their existing form are a chaotic medley. They consist of 12 books of various authorship, date, and religious conception. The final arrangement, thought to be due to an unknown editor of the 6th century, does not determine identity of authorship, time, or religious belief. Many of the books are merely arbitrary groupings of unrelated fragments. These oracles were anonymous in origin and as such were apt to modification and enlargement at pleasure by Hellenistic Jews and by Christians for missionary purposes. Celsus called Christians sigma iota beta upsilon lambda lambda iota sigma tau alpha iota because of prophecies preached among them, especially those in the Book of Revelations. The preservation of the entire collection is due to Christian writers. History of the texts. Large collections of these Jewish and Christian oracles are still in existence. When they were recovered in the 16th century, their initial publication caused a sensation among scholars. In 1545 Xistus Betilius published at Basel an edition of 8 books of oracles with a preface dating from perhaps the 6th century AD, and the next year a version set in Latin verse appeared. Better manuscripts were used by Johannes Opsipius, whose edition appeared at Paris in 1599. Later editions include those by Servas Gall and by Andrea Galandi in his Bibliotheca Veterum Patrum. In 1817 Angelo Mai edited a further book from a manuscript in the Bibliotheca Ambrosiana at Milan, and later he discovered 4 more books in the Vatican Library, none of which were continuations of the 8 previously printed, but an independent collection. These are numbered sheet to 14 in later editions. Several fragments of oracles, taken from the works of Theophilus and Lactantius, printed in the later editions, show that even more Sibylline oracles formerly existed. In the course of the 19th century, better texts also became available for the parts previously published. Contents. The so-called Sibylline oracles are couched in classical hexameter verses. The contents are of the most varied character and for the most part contain references to peoples, kingdoms, cities, rulers, temples, etc. It is futile to attempt to read any order into their plan or any connected theme. The Catholic Encyclopedia suggests that the present arrangement represents the caprice of different owners or collectors who brought them together from various sources. Though there are occasionally verses which are truly poetical and sublime, the general character of the Sibylline oracles is mediocre. The order in which the books are enumerated does not represent their relative antiquity, nor has the most searching criticism been able accurately to determine how much is Christian and how much Jewish. Book IV is generally considered to embody the oldest portions of the oracles, and while many of the older critics saw in it elements which were considered to be Christian, it is now looked on as completely Jewish. Book V has given rise to many divergent opinions, some claiming it as Jewish, others as the work of a Christian Jew, and others as being largely interpolated by a Christian. It contains so little that can be considered Christian that it can safely be set down as Jewish. Books V and 7 are admittedly of Christian origin. Some authors describe Book V as an heretical hymn, but this contention has no evidence in its favor. It dates most probably from the 3rd century. Books I and II are regarded as a Christian revision of a Jewish original. Book 8 offers peculiar difficulties. The first 216 verses are most likely the work of a 2nd century Jew, while the latter part, beginning with an acrostic on the symbolical Christian word isthus, is undoubtedly Christian, and dates most probably from the 3rd century. In the form in which they are now found, the other 4 books are probably the work of Christian authors. Books 12 and 13 are from the same pen, 12 being a revision of a Jewish original. Book She might have been written either by a Christian or a Jew in the 3rd century, and Book 14 of the same doubtful provenance dates from the 4th century. The general conclusion is that Books V, 7, and 13 and the latter part of Book 8 are wholly Christian. Books I, 2, She, 12, 13, and 14 received their present form from a Christian. The peculiar Christian circle in which these compositions originated cannot be determined. Neither can it be asserted what motive prompted their composition except as a means of Christian propaganda. Bibliography. J. Gefgen, Die Oracula Sibyllina, Leipzig, Hinrichs, 1902. A. Peretti, La Sibylla Babylonese nella propaganda ellenistica, Firenze, La Nuova Italia, 1942. V. Nicky Prowetsky, La Troissima Sibylle, Paris, La Haye, 1970. J. Collins, The Sibylline Oracles of Egyptian Judaism, Missoula, 1974. A. Grafton, Higher Criticism Ancient and Modern, The Lamentable Death of Hermes and the Sibyls, in The Uses of Greek and Latin, Historical Essays, ed. by A.C. Dionizotti, Grafton and J. Cray, London, 1988, pp. 155–170. H.W. Park, Sibyls in Sibylline Prophecy in Classical Antiquity, London, Routledge, 1988. I. Cervelli, Questioni Sibylline, Studi Storici, 34, 1993, pp. 8951001. M. Bracali, Sebastiano Castellani, La Edizione dei Sibylline Oracula, Rinascimento, 36, 1996, pp. 319–349. R. Butenworth, Book 3 of the Sibylline Oracles and its Social Setting, Leiden, Boston, Brill, 2003. C. Sciano, Il secolo della Sibylla, Momenta della Tradizione Cinquecentesca degli Oracoli Sibillini, Bari, Edizioni di Pagana, 2005.